My apologies on the last prior stream. I scheduled that from within the YouTube app. I'll wait for people to come back. Yeah, so in my first part here, that's my own fault for doing that. Yeah, regarding the stream. Okay, so if you check my private prior stream, I was talking about yeah, here this YouTube is just a real hang on here. Yeah, hang on here, folks. Sorry. All right, so like I was saying, MCP is the way to go regarding pretty well any AI. I think that's going to really extend out the functionality of the world of AI. Also, with the desktop, as I said, nobody's online. I don't know. Anyways, coming back to, so I mentioned the quant research. Okay, cool. Yay. Thank you, Mr. CNN. I really appreciate your help in saving me here. I wouldn't be able to do this without you for sure. Anyways, hopefully more people come in. Okay, so back to the MCP servers. The I think over the long run they will. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, JD. I appreciate it. So the MCP servers, I think that they're going to replace a lot of the. It's going to really make vibe coding a real thing now because you're going to be able to go up against a an API, but just talk to it in an English way, and it'll be able to respond back exactly what you're asking. I've played with it enough to know that it is pretty phenomenal. The advancement of this is unbelievable on how good it is, and that you can actually ask quant related questions to any of the three MCP servers I mentioned. So again, I'll mention Wolfram Alpha, Perplexity Research, and if you want, you can connect it into a MATLAB as well, into a MATLAB live environment. It's phenomenal. That I'll say. So there will be more advanced MCP servers coming for sure. There'll be other exchanges doing it. There'll be probably educators, gurus, all them setting something up. Blah blah blah. I think the future is very bright in that area for MCP servers. As I said here, one of the ones that's going to be really important is news. So if you get news sources, be it I don't know, Bloomberg, Yahoo, whoever, and you can poll for real time news through MCP servers. It's phenomenally strong. Okay, so again, the really cool part about it with the automated trading workflow, just so you know right now, I'm not going to get into details of everything here, what I'm doing, but I am now adding, before I go live trading, I've just said, screw it, I'm not wanting to do any more modifications to what I already have. So I've added now, or in the process of adding option chain data for the futures on options market. That's the term formerly used, futures on options. So it's only no stock, but obviously the U.S. market indices on futures on options. So I'm now working with that with options chain data to include your bid and ask, all your arbitrage, advanced stuff. I mean, it's incredible what you can do with it. Plus, with the call and put side, to do hedging, to do implied volatility with it, and also be able to do Greek analysis as well. So I've already started that today, and it's probably the most sophisticated thing I've done. And without AI, I wouldn't be able to do it. Now, how does that work with Claude Code and Claude Desktop. As I said, the best way to do what I'm doing is I'm using the VS Code Claude extension. What I'm doing with real-time option chain data through my supplier, who shall remain nameless, but we know who they are, I'm able to put out a sample, what they call a forward future contract. So let's say ES for the S&P 500 for May or June, and then I can put out a request to find me the closest option chain related around the expiry date or any forward contracts on that option chain, and then be able to gauge using option chain data to gather all the necessary information and then be able to do an assessment through hedging, arbitrage, through correlation setups through this option chain data. Now, this is so sophisticated, I'm able to break, quite literally break different LLM models. And this is also including the Opus 4.6. This is how advanced it is. This is how much volume and intensity this is right now. So I wouldn't be able to do this without Claude Desktop or Claude Code, namely in the VS Code extension of Claude. I try to do this with the cheaper LLMs, like, dare I say, Codex, the Chinese ones. They can't do it. And the only one that can do it is Claude Code. That's how advanced it is. I've been spending about 4 hours already doing this. I kind of got something working, but I'm trying to push it as far as I can. I've already blown through my month's AI budget, and that started on the 18th of April. So I'm well blown that already because of the amount of code I'm using and computer utilization on just getting this set up. So as I said, Claude, in my mind, is the only one that can do this as efficient. So this is one of the big things with Claude Desktop. And I'm able to quickly bang out Excel spreadsheets, really good quality. I'm able to bang out very advanced PDF reports. I posted a sample on my Discord if people want to see it. It's quite literally unbelievable what Claude can do. It's expensive, but I believe if you're doing something like what I'm doing as a project and you're only going to do it once, it's worth the price. But if you're going to constantly use Claude to stream, or yeah, you're going to get killed on it. But if it's just a one-time use only, yeah, Claude is worth pursuing. And Claude Code or Claude Desktop matters, okay? Now, what I'm going to say about Claude itself, what I am noticing is you can use Claude the model through OpenRouter, through other third-party connections into Claude. What I do notice, and I have tested for this, when I use Claude Code or Claude Code, the VS Code extension, the quality output it seems to be, I don't know, 10 times better than what I'd go as if I wasn't going through a third party. And as a result, I don't know, and that's one of the big disadvantages with Claude Desktop is you cannot use any gateway using Claude. You have to use Claude, the Anthropic subscription itself. And with Claude Desktop, you can only use Claude models. You can't use alternative other models like Codex or whatever. You can, I believe, use it with Claude Code, or at least you could use something like an OpenRouter, but not with the Claude Desktop. So that's a kind of a big disadvantage with Claude Desktop. But with a desktop, you can get a lot more. You can get the integration with Office. You can get the integration with the work, which I haven't really used. And that's where the agentic comes in play. It's powerful. So I'm kind of, a big tip I can give you that's really important. Last couple of weeks I've been saying if you're going to use Claude for any modeling or any kind of AI, Yeah, it is very expensive. But what I did as a trick was you can use the latest versions of Claude 4.6 for Sonnet and Opus. Those are the two highest tier models. If you use Haiku, and you could use, let's say, Haiku 4.5, you'll save a lot of money. Okay, so that's something to consider, but it's going to be lower quality. So if you need really advanced response, specifically in coding, you have to use Claude Sonnet at least. And if you really need advancement, like what I'm doing with this option chain stuff, you got to use Claude Code for that. So that's pretty well what I can say. Also, I got here some snippets with Claude Desktop. As I said, you get extensions into Claude Work and Claude Office extensions and a whole pile of other things I can't think of right now. But I do believe the desktop is kind of worth the price. I'm only testing at 25 a month right now. But right now, once I get past the option chain stuff, I probably will obviously expand into other areas of Claude Desktop. And if it's impressive enough, I might get rid of my other that I've been using for a year and close to a year and a half now. Whew, that's a lot. Okay, so if you guys got questions, let me know on this because I do think Claude is kind of worth it. I still can't sit here and confirm or deny that the strategy of using Claude Haiku is the better option to save money. I think it is, but will it be as cheap as using Codex 5.4 or 5.3? Okay, I've been using Claude 5. Or sorry, Codex 5.3 for a while, and it's fairly affordable in terms of the quality of Codex 5.3 versus Claude 4.6. Claude 4.6 Opus, hands down, way more advanced than what you'll get out of anything Codex. But Codex is fairly affordable. I have been, as you know, been playing with the Xiaomi model for code generation. It's pretty good for its low cost. There's a bunch of other ones, but it's really hard to say what to move forward with because the whole pile of other ones just came out. Like I just found out through our guy that saves me every day on the stream, introducing me to Granite 4 from IBM. So that's a new model that just came out. So you always got to test new models to see if they're worthwhile or not. And I've been testing a lot. And as I said right now, the Xiaomi, is it Mima Pro is good. The GLM's still pretty good. Minimax I try to use, but with Claude or with C-Line it conks out. So, as you build out more sophistication in your coding, depending upon your language, depending upon what you're needing, how big your project is, you may need to stick with something like either Codex or with Claude as well. And the other thing I mentioned in my prior video was regarding the the third-party stuff for MCP servers. If you can, and you have the option to avoid them, avoid them. If you don't have the option, just be aware that they can be full of malware, which happened in the last couple of weeks with a bunch. Anyways, so done with that. Thanks for your patience on that. If you guys got any questions, let me know. I'm still testing out the options. I think once I get past that script for option chain is going to be very valuable. And I say that because I've been on interactive brokers, and you've got to pay quite a bit of money, I believe. I don't remember the amount. You actually may get it free for futures on option chain data. It's not as sophisticated as Rhythmic, I find, as our supplier. There's also, I did check into Data Bento, the pricing on that for option chain data. unlimited with CME among all their exchanges. It's $190 per month. I do believe that's streaming as well, but that's as a non-professional. If you want to go in as a professional, you are looking at about 600 a month. And remember, that's just data only. So for 140 with the other one that I'm with, you get execution as well because you're going through a broker. So because you're getting the execution, that makes a huge difference in terms of the cost. It's cheaper, 140 versus 180, 190 with Data Bento, and you get order execution with it for 140. So there's that. The Claude Desktop, the Claude code is getting there. It's really good. I think in terms of getting productivity, it's worth paying for sure, without a doubt. I would not sit there and want to go through what I've been through with there's still hallucination, not in the coding front I find, but in other things, hallucination does still exist. I don't seem to see hallucination a lot in Claude anymore, not with the 4.6 models. I don't think I've seen it even with the Haiku as well, especially in the Claude Code VS extension. Just haven't seen it. And I've tested enough for the last 2 days now. I'm comfortable, not getting comfortable with it, but I know it can do the job that I want it to do, but you got to be willing to pay. There lies the problem. But on the other hand, if you're not wanting to pay the price, just remember this. If you were to bill yourself out by the hour, you'd be spending a lot more time trying to code up things and fixing and debugging. Where Claude, I have to say, Claude 4.6 Opus, I will sit here and tell you I've never seen debugging as good as this. The debugging is so good using Claude 4.6 Opus. It can find a problem and within 5 minutes, something that if you were to say looking for a needle in a haystack, Claude will find it. It's really, really impressive. And again, it's worth the price for that alone on the debugging front. So I think with the vibe coding movement and the debugging now, if you know how to prompt, you probably could start coding without having any real knowledge in it. I think it's going to come, and it's maybe there already if you know how to properly prompt. Yeah, sorry about the comments before. If you guys got questions or comments, let me know. I've been wanting to do live trading, and I was looking at them like, I started playing with the options data, and I'm telling you, the analysis is so much better with it. Not just using futures alone. The options analysis is so much better to have because with futures, I'll tell you this will move up to a point, but you don't know why. The options analysis on top of using news sources, it tells you exactly why prices are moving because of the options. Under certain conditions that hedge funds or whatever large money managers are doing in the markets, and you can see that in the price. And you see that through the options chain as well, because you quickly start to understand the relationships, the correlationships between a variety of different instruments. You get to see all the different drivers, and it's not just events anymore. It's basically like where an option, like a hedge fund may or a quant fund may go, too much risk here, therefore I'm going to do this. And you can also somewhat see the manipulation as well. It's really good for Bitcoin and crypto. Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically, there's a lot of retail, not smart money, the proper way to put it. They're not knowing why things are moving. The options chain will tell you that in the CME, because now the AI is also giving me responses about every time it puts out a request to the volume on Bitcoin, let's say, on CME, Binance, and Bybit. And now a lot of the volume is driven by Bitcoin, okay? Or sorry, driven by CME, Okay, so the CME has huge impact on the Bitcoin pricing. Just wanted to putting out there, and that's all because of the ETF inflow, outflow, and other exchanges that they're involved with. But the CME is definitely a big player now in the Bitcoin space. And as I said, you can use the Bitcoin blockchain itself through an MCP server, and you can use Claude Desktop to drive that as well. Have you guys got questions or comments? Let me know. I'm here for you. JD, I know I appreciate you being here. I really do. If you got any questions, I think next week I'll be talking about more of this option stuff as I dig into it, but that's where the real quant is. Anybody that says I had people going on about quant and EA on MetaTrader, to me when I read that, I don't even bother. It's like a joke to me, so I don't bother responding to those comments. But options is where it's at, baby. No doubt. On if you want to learn quant, you gotta know options and options in the futures market. And as you play with it more and more and doing the deep analysis that I'm doing, that's part of my PDF reports that I get to read now and I post for all my members. I'm telling you, the difference is huge. Oh, we got a first question. Thank you, JD. I appreciate that. How do you manage the RSS feed? Does the filter the quality of the news? Well, first it's depending upon your news data source. A lot of them, there's standard ones that you could use. But what you're looking for depends upon what you're trying to trade. If you want to make real money, you want to follow what the institutions are doing. So your news sources should be the mainstream financial news, Bloomberg, CNBC, and the like. And then there's a lot of other future media outlets, forums like Elite Trader, the former Big Mike forums are very good as well. So if you get those good quality feeds and you download them and then you have the AI process them, put them into a file of some kind, like I don't know, like a CSV or a PDF. And then you just tell the PDF what you want to do with the analysis. Usually what I find that the AI, let's say you want to build out trading ideas or actual trading execution out of it, or trading strategy, or bots, as the youngins say. Basically, what I'm finding is the AI will always pick out the assets that have the highest volume. So you won't see a lot of agriculture. If you're looking for alternative coins in crypto, let's say, I don't know, I've seen Solana once, I've seen XRP once, but I'll always pick out Bitcoin because of volume. It will occasionally pick out Ethereum. So it's all driven by volume. And I've already mentioned the usual assets. And I'll also pick out, if at the time that there's fast moving instruments as well, like last Friday there was a shorting of a Canadian dollar, and I believe the other one was like agriculture product as well. But that's when the markets were extremely down. So you let the AI pick what you should trade, and if it's a good quality AI, Codex does well with it. You could use, like as I said, latest Codex, and what I'll come back with is usually picking out assets or instruments that are built around volume and liquidity at that time, and what it thinks is the fast-moving instruments. If that helps you out. You guys got any other questions at all? I think we're half an hour. I know it's pretty short. I was expecting more people. Last week was pretty good. If you got any other questions, let me know. I kind of want to get back into the debugging of the option chain option chain stuff. I want to. I'd like to put out a video on it, but I have to be kind of careful on it for reasons unknown. Like I said, this sort of stuff I'm getting into, I'm gonna have to put it behind a paywall. Speaking of that, all the stuff I've been talking about is now making things a lot more valuable because I can do things much faster now, respond quicker. If I do the options, it takes a lot longer to process because it takes so much more processing using option stuff. So I'm still trying to figure out the optimal way to move forward on that. But the options makes a huge difference between options futures in the world of quant trading for sure. 100% there. If you guys got questions, newcomers, you got questions. I know for this, the volume takes, or the algo takes about half an hour is what I was told to pick up to hopefully amplify the stream. Sorry about the prior stream about the mess up. That's something I didn't know. I was trying to schedule that with within the YouTube app, but no dice on there. You guys got any other questions? And we've got some new people coming in. Any questions at all? If you missed any of the new stuff, just go to watch the video. This video, once it's fully rendered, and it'll be put up on YouTube under the live section on my tab, live tab. Who's got questions? No. What's your PC setup? It's a standard PC laptop, 16 gigabytes. I don't know how many. I think it's a 1 or 2 terabyte. Run-of-the-mill HP laptop. Now, if you want to know with all this fancy stuff going on in the Mideast and the war and the implications, if it still escalates, which I kind of think it will, there is a huge thing now. What was said in one of the videos I've been watching, there could be a shortage of helium, and that's going to have a big impact on electronics. So, as I'm sure you already heard about, jet fuel's gone up because of that impact. It's gone up something like 50%. What I would do if you are in the market for electronics, I'm kind of playing with, do I get a second laptop for all the stuff that I'm doing? Because it does take up a lot of processing, and I can't do it on a standard laptop. I'm looking at getting a fancy desktop or laptop soon because of these problems with something like helium, because the prices are going to go up for just general electronics because helium's used in a lot of the processing of electronics. So if you need anything electronics, get it now because the price is going to go up a lot. That's going to be right across the industry as well. So be aware of that. Who's got other questions? I know maybe JDI's got running out of questions here. I don't know. Oh, here he goes. Do you now run everything locally, or do you still use cloud? Well, that's all driven by this Mideast thing because I wanted to travel and do the nomad thing for a while, and I would have been gone probably in the last month or two. But because of what's been going on, I don't see myself traveling. So as a result, everything's can be run locally. The only reason I would do everything on the cloud is because of the traveling. Now, if I get a sophisticated desktop, yeah, it'll be 100% done local. The only thing is that I'm not doing local is the requesting out to LLMs via, let's say, Claude or Codex, like that. That I use through cloud of obviously making out requests like in a chat mode, but I don't run any local LLMs and draw off of those because, as I said before, I think with how I'm doing things, I can burn out computer chips pretty good. Just to give you an example, when I was trying to do some HFT stuff, I went through about 3 or 4 brand new drives and just burnt them out within a day or 2 days because the intensity that I was trying to get things running. So yeah, so I'm right now doing everything local, and probably will stay local as long as I'm not doing this travel thing. But if I do travel, then yeah, I'll have to run everything through a cloud server. I do believe, as I said before, the Python API support of our Rhythmic can be run in Linux. Let's say Ubuntu. So if that's the case, then I can put it up on a virtual server. But then you got to lock it down and blah 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 blah. But that's another day. Right now, we have Thunder. Any guys got questions? They're very just so small. This crowd, two of us, three of us, as well. I don't know. Maybe this topic didn't go as far as I'd like. I don't know. The option is a big deal, I think. Have you tested out trading Bitcoin via IBKR? Would you recommend using IB? Okay, that brings up another good question as well. In terms of trading Bitcoin, it's with Interactive Brokers. They use Paxos, the Paxos exchange. In Canada, I cannot use Paxos. I'm restricted to pretty well nothingness. So I can't use Paxos in terms of trading on. Now, can you download data with Bitcoin and all that? Yes, you can. And that's fine, but you're going to go through retail as well. So I think being on a retail crypto exchange is starting to like fall away. Nothing to do with Interactive Brokers itself, but just generally, I'm finding not as much news is coming out on Kraken, Coinbase. The only exchanges that are talked about in my AI, remember I'm using US AI as well. The only three exchanges that are used and come up a lot are Deribit, Bybit, Binance, and CME. So those are the only four exchanges that I see that come up. Deribit's still institutional. You can do some interesting stuff with Deribit, but most of the action based upon volume and the smart money is on the CME. So if you're going to do Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would probably stick with the CME route because you can treat it like a futures, you can treat it like a real options. Okay. Because of that, that's going to be an advantage. So for my case, if I'm in Ontario, Canada, or Canada alone, I can't trade things like perpetual crypto, but I can trade futures and options of Bitcoin and Ethereum through the CME. So what I'm trying to say is I think the retail exchanges are going to, as I said, fall away. They're going to start to lose momentum, and I think they already are at that point. And as I said, the four that I've already mentioned are the only ones I see through AI. So don't ask me why that is the case, but if I was to be really serious trading crypto now, I'd probably trade only through the CME exchange because Binance is still big, but when the AI responses, the only real reason that Binance is still got a lot of volume is because the Asian retail traders. So Bybit's still pretty big, but again, that's retail as well. But if you want to be in the safer environment for Binance and Ethereum, I'd probably stick with a CME. Yeah. But I do, yeah, you can, so if you're going to trade futures and options through Interactive Brokers, you can do that as well. But just be aware that the data is not going to be as fast as with other providers, we'll say. So hopefully I'll answer your question. But for Interactive Brokers on Bitcoin through retail crypto exchanges on Paxos. So don't know the volume, don't know the fill rate, don't know how fast it is. I can't say, but I'm sure it's enough. But I will say, I haven't really looked at it, but I will at some point be looking at option chain data for Bitcoin on the CME. And that's real institutional market order flow is what you really want. Anyways, you don't want retail order flow because with Binance, well, we don't know the history of Binance. They've been fined. They just got fined last week again for $6 million on something or other. So I don't know with Binance if you can fully trust it. I wouldn't anymore. As well as same with Bybit. I can't say yes or no on that either. But if you want the safer market order flow, where it's not, I mean, I'm sure it's manipulated, but it's nowhere as badly manipulated, I'd stick with the CME. And you, as I said, you could trade Bitcoin, Ethereum on the CME through interactive brokers. It's got to choose the right symbol. And there's not a lot of things you need to do because interactive brokers is all self-contained, unlike if you went through EdgeClear and the future through the real futures and options. So I know that's a long-winded question, but I thought I'd say more on it because it's important to note. And what I will say about options, if you really want to make money with Bitcoin and Ethereum, the money is not to be made in Bitcoin spot market alone. Okay, there is virtually no money there because it's flat. It's a Bitcoin crypto winter, but you can use and make money in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I had one day last week that did really well. Everything else was dying, but Bitcoin was doing very well based upon a specific strategy. And also you can use, and I'm seeing it also in the options stuff coming out of the AI, is the hedge funds and whatnot, the institutions are using Bitcoin and Ethereum ratio to figure out not just how to trade Bitcoin and or Ethereum, but they also use it to measure now volume against oil, and they also use it to measure against the volume of gold as well. I don't know the particulars because I've only started seeing that in the last couple of days since I've started looking at option data, because the option data reveals all and why, and you can also quantify it as well. And the other thing is, it's very, very important to remember when it comes to if you're going to try to trade the spot market of Bitcoin, Ethereum, which I think now, from what I'm seeing, is a complete waste of time, you need to see forward-looking data. So if you want to see forward-looking data, you have to, unfortunately, stick with real option institutional order flow, and nothing else. Not smart money, the retail market, because they're just watching the spot market. The institutions are using all kinds of ways to trade Bitcoin and or something else against Bitcoin and or with Ethereum. And that has huge impact on the price of Bitcoin as well, because they move the markets of Bitcoin and really impact Ethereum as well. So if you're not trading in the CME and the options specifically, you're just kind of like, as I like to say, urinating in the wind, because you don't know what's going on. And looking at options data, understanding the risk and why it's being used, you'll have a better chance of profiting pretty decently with Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures and or options. There, I'm done on Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's mostly traded and Ethereum has its moments, but there was a day last week where both Bitcoin and Ethereum were trading. At the beginning, Ethereum was profiting a little bit, but once Bitcoin moves in the right way, boy, oh boy, if you got the right strategy, you can make some big moolah with that. And where Ethereum's like tiny compared to what Bitcoin can do when you have the right strategy in place at the right time, like the right market condition and the right time. And again, studying the option chain data helps you understand these relationships hedging, and arbitrage. And that could be any of those three at any point that affects the price of Bitcoin directly. That's all I can say. And people may argue it, but usually if Bitcoin moves or anything that moves and you ask them to quantify it and why, and they don't know, and they'll just say nobody can predict it, well, I beg to differ on that. Next question, nicely timed, JDI. Do you recommend using options and futures market for the AI if somebody also trades spot markets? Yeah, you can. You can definitely do that. I do see trades like arbitrage between, let's say, Binance and CME. I definitely see that. Like that arbitrage does exist between Bitcoin arbitrage between an exchange like Binance or Bybit versus CME. And you also could include Deribit in there as well because the discrepancies are pretty big. But unless you're trading big position sizes, like I don't know, 50K, 100K, the arbitrage you'd be only making pennies. But if you're trading large orders and large positions, it's worth it for the arbitrage. Because if you're trying to do quote unquote HFT related stuff in small volume, I think the commissions will eat you alive in that. And don't forget when this is the one big disadvantage with the CME. You have to also include your margin requirement and your cost on the exchange. So that's something else. If you're doing it in small amounts, you're very limited, unfortunately. Again, I'm just giving you details of what I'm seeing on how institutions are making money with something like Bitcoin, but they only do it because they have the volume. Okay, new person, Noise Voice Scholar. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining. Anything with prediction markets? Somebody came up with that. I'm assuming you mean like what's that one that begins with K and Polymarket? I'm kind of torn between that. If you go onto my Discord, there was a discussion about somebody trying to do with Polymarket. I came back and said, don't you worry about insider trading. Kaishi, thank you. And it just came off, I don't know, nobody responded to it. So that might be a theoretical thing, but in practice it might not be useful. On the other hand, if you know ARK Investments, Kathy Wood, she's now using Kaishi to help them gauge on what stocks to add in their ETFs. So there's a yes and no on prediction markets. I don't see the point in prediction markets. I think that's just another lazy way of looking at the markets because it can be manipulated. Like Polymarket's under investigation. It'd be like claiming Binance is reliable, which got fined. CZ, the founder, got jailed. Will the Polymarkets be legit or not? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I would rather be trading where the institutions are, where it's regulated by the CME, by the CFTC, by the what's the other one? SEC. We know manipulation's going on, but on scale, I would rather just stick with the CME. Not do the Polymarket and Kelshi. I just don't think it's wise. Because everything now in the world of trading, specifically in volatility, data is the most important. SIG and a couple of other trading firms do prediction market desks. Not sure how those are doing though. Nobody knows. Like I said, I did a post on it. If it was working and it was popular, I get a lot of responses on it, a lot of views. But there was nothing on it. So that, to me, is how I gauge it. Now, also got to remember that these prediction markets are fairly new. Doesn't mean they're going to work. So a lot of these trading desks are just doing it out of curiosity, I guess. I don't know if they're valid or not. I think more if anything they could be manipulated. So if it can be manipulated, I wouldn't touch it. And if it can be manipulated because they are being investigated by the regulators, then they probably won't exist anymore. So I don't know. Just my thought. I don't want to go through anything more that's third party open source, like I mentioned earlier regarding MCP servers. Once you start to scale up real money, you want to go through legitimate sources and channels, nothing else. So I wish I could give you a better answer. If you guys got any other questions, Moise Scholar, thanks for those. Those are good questions. I think they're relevant, but from my point of view, I would have thought I would have gotten more responses on that Polymarket article I posted a few days ago. Not much. People are responding to the options one that I just posted in the algorithmic in options because there's a huge need there. Not very many people are doing options. So with Claude Code and Claude Desktop, as I said earlier, the sophistication of those instruments, they're so sophisticated. The only ones I think can do it, like to lay down a code base, the only ones that can do it is Claude right now. And you pay big time for that as well. So who's got other questions? Small audience tonight, folks. Sorry to disappoint you. You got any other questions, JDI? As I said, I'm going through the motion of setting up these option chain analysis. Once I'm done, pushed it to the max, it's going to be pretty intelligent. I really think it will make a big difference. Unfortunately, I can't release the code because in the world of trading, this will be the most valuable out there. And I've been thinking about this for a long time now. If you want to make real money in trading, if you're trading in stock market, Bitcoin, gold, and there's times and places when those instruments move in a spot market, we'll call it, in a retail environment, but they move not a lot. And if you don't get the move, then you miss out. So the smart way to make money in the world of trading is obviously automated now. The best number one asset class out there in the world. Right now, with the market conditions, the market's being kind of dismal and flat, and with this Middle East war and whatever else is coming down the pipes with the debt levels and blah, 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 blah. The only place to really, really trade and make big, big cash is options. That's it. Nothing else, because there's so much you can do with options. Are you managing to find new institutional secrets with the AI, or are they all biased? That's a very good question, JDI. I think I mentioned this before. If you use one of the older Chinese models, it was so conspiracy theorist. Yeah, if you were able to implement what that particular model could do, you learn a lot. And I still got the posts, as I said, available behind a very expensive paywall. So the answer is yes. Now, unless you're willing to pay, you want to do things like FPGA coding, assembler coding, C++ coding, doing what the HFT shops do, the answer is yes, for sure. But it all comes down to how you prompt and knowing what to prompt. And as I said before, submitting. Well, let me give you an example. Okay, I'm gonna keep this very general today. Okay, so all day today, I must have spent 2 hours getting the AI, which in this case was Claude Code 4.6 Opus. Couldn't find the answer. So what it would do is it would go out into the GitHub and look for projects related around the topic that I was asking it to do. So I'd go in, download the project, looked at the project code, the all of the markdown, all the whatever, and I would try to manipulate those projects, run them, and basically try to replicate what I asked it to do. It went through at least 4 projects on GitHub. Okay, it couldn't replicate what I wanted it to do. Why? Because there was no documentation available for it. So I figured, okay, let me upload something that I knew, and voila, it found the solution. So it wasted about two hours at least cycling through and guessing, because that's what it said it was trying to do, guess, trying to find the solution. It didn't say, I can't find what I need and give up. It was spending a good number of hours on my dime, and if I showed you the chart of how much it was spent today because of that, it just spins, and you're spending so much money. Unless you provide the documentation with the prompt, then you cut down on that and wasted effort from the guessing. So unless you know specifically in your prompt for the HFT secret stuff, you won't find it. But if you know how to chat with it, you could probably find certain things, but you got to know how to properly prompt it to get the so-called secretive algorithms and whatever. So you have to provide something in addition to the AI to prevent it from guessing. And when the AI goes through a guessing situation, it won't tell you it can't find it. It just guesses. But the more data, the more anything you can provide regarding your so-called institutional secret, the better your answer will be, and the faster you'll get the answer, and you'll save yourself a ton of money. So hopefully I'll help you out. But there were certain AI, newer versions that do have this bias, but I think you can get around it if you know what to ask for. That makes sense. But if you can get access to older models, like the one I mentioned a while back, you can get what you're seeking on that front. But again, if you want to do the HFT stuff, you better have a big account to really take advantage of it. That's all I can tell you. That could include direct market access techniques, the servers, how to spec them, all the legal, blah, blah, blah. AI can give you those answers if you know what you're looking for and how to prompt for it. So that, hopefully I'll help you out. Thank you for the like. Have you guys got any other questions? Anyone else new? But Claude's not very well built for that, for the institutional HFT stuff. If you want to know what models to use, the Chinese ones are the best. Specifically DeepSeek, because a lot of, like I said before, DeepSeek is started from a quant research firm, and they evolved into DeepSeek. So if anyone will know those type of topics, DeepSeek is a good one, and I've seen some other very, very good LLMs from China that can do the same, give you the same answers that you're looking for. But you got to be very specific. Make sense? Cool. Who else got questions here? Comments? Yeah. So I've talked quite a bit about the Claude and Desktop. I think Claude Desktop is going to be over time, it will evolve to be a game changer, not just in the world of quant and coding, but just generally. They just keep coming up with interesting technologies. But I read on LinkedIn, someone said Anthropic and Claude are trying to be the AWS of agents. And the way they're going, they probably are. So that's, from what I understand, that's the notion of what where Anthropic will grow. That's just they'll provide all these different MCP level server configurations, the skills, and whatever else they come up with. And they're really good at it. And they're the ones that kind of created all this as well. So we'll see. And because of that, Claude and Anthropic lead the market in the world of AI as well. So if you guys got questions, let me know. I think we got 5 people. We should have max people in here. So let me just see what time I got here, because I want to get back to what I was doing. So it's for an hour. You guys got questions? If not, I might have a different time for next week. I'll let you know on my YouTube or emails if you're on my website, quantlabsnet.com. If you like this stuff, just give me a like, even subscribe. I got a signal back to YouTube that people value this stuff. Just waiting for more questions. If anything's out there. Last week was quite active, I must say. So we're down to 5, which is okay. I think next week, give me a 1 if you think you'd like to learn more about the options front in futures and options. Because as I said, when it comes to options, if you want to really learn and build wealth, either end. Because if we're going into an environment where there's going to be no income, let's just say everything dries up from the horror stories of fuel and energy and all that, we get all these lockdowns, what's happening potentially with New Zealand and Australia. Let's just say we go down that and we're back to where we were in the world of pandemic level stuff. You can make income through options and futures, and it can be totally independent from anything else. And I've seen it. I just actually put it in my Discord. What I would recommend, I put a zip in there, a zip file that will show you the bots, the trading plan of an example set, profit potential for the year. And it can be 45% as high as that. So you can get income from that, or much higher returns that you'll get anywhere else, even compared to the stock market. It's impressive. And then when you get the smart code to come out of it, you can do very well. Now, I have seen some trading bots and I have tested them, where they're at 2/3 win ratio. I've had as high as 80% a week before last. Way I look at it is with this, where it's going, if you can get under right conditions, right market conditions, and you build out the exact smart strategy with these trading bot strategies, whatever you want to call them, you can make quite a bit. The one advantage with how all of this works as I said, with the institutional level mindset, if you took my course on the futures and options that I have on the website, you can learn how to protect your downside protection with the futures floor contract, or future contract, as your downside protection is the floor. And then through other combinations of different types of options that you can apply, puts, calls, and certain conditions, and knowing the drivers that will do that for you, which I also can capture through the news. The upside is unlimited. And it's really important to understand that potential is there. I'm also seeing it through the news. Now, if that's not enough for you, you can also, which is a standard now for ETFs, where a lot of people that have portfolios, dividend income is going to go by the dodo, possibly. So if you're relying on dividend income going into your future, like in the retirement or close to it, dividend income may get cut back. Okay, so if you have X company giving percent of, let's say 8% in return as a dividend, they may chop it in half, or they may get rid of it. So what do you do then? if dividend income is no longer a reliable source of income to fund your retirement. Okay, so what the trend now is what I've got set up is basically an option writing ETF, meaning there are ETFs you can get. I said this before. You can use Fidelity as an example. They have one like this, where the management team will always write option calls. Okay, so they can earn income from that, and if they're really good at doing that, you can earn income from that. So essentially, if you know how to write options on your own, and you have the money and the kahunas to take the risk to do it, you can make a lot of money because all you're doing is just collecting premium in the options when you're selling options or writing options. So you can do that as an independent way now, and it's a trend to invest. But again, it's high risk if you get the direction of the options when you're writing it in the wrong direction, because you will be held 100% on the hook for that. So I'm just putting that out there as a potential. Another one that's kind of I'm seeing more, and I've only been seeing this in the last day, since yesterday, where because I'm looking at options, another form of income that I'm seeing, I still have to understand it, is that hedge funds are using the combination of Bitcoin and Ethereum in as an arbitrage, and then on top of that, they build out these other option calls or puts, and generating income from those. Okay, so that's another way to generate income, which is totally independent from the news, independent from the economy. Okay, and it's legit too because it's all done through the CME. So these are things you may need to look at if things get really, really bad, like they have been the last couple of weeks because of this Middle East war. So I would definitely look into this. I'm glad I'm moving into this stuff because I just don't know where the markets will be. Where if you have a portfolio relying on dividend income, you may put yourself at risk if those stocks or whoever's giving you dividend income suddenly stops. Okay, you may not be able to rely on it moving forward because it may become unreliable, or there's some kind of exogenous external event that comes along and shuts down the opportunity. Like look at the private credit, okay, where things got locked down and you could only take out 5% out of the investment, and you have to wait 2 years to get everything out, 100% of your investment, and meanwhile it's going down in value. So you can avoid things like that if you're willing to learn the option space, the option market in futures on options, not stock options, because those are, I don't know if there's a lot of money made there. I just don't know. I'm just putting that out there because if you know how to do it, you can be independent and uncorrelated to the markets, to the news, to the economy, blah 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 blah. So it's a definite interesting way to look at. I'll probably have a much better understanding of it as I generate more of these AI reports on options. So if that generates any questions, let me know. I'll wait. Okay, so because we're having like very low volume here, I may end the stream really soon, like minutes, in fact. So if you got any questions, let me know. I'll do the usual, going once, twice, three times. If there's nothing else coming up, just type away something so I can see that you're wanting to ask something. So I'll wait on that because I know there's that delay. It's not synchronized, my voice and what you hear. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to move in. Oh, it's a tiny, well, I know who's out there. So if you got a question, JDI, let me know. Going once, going twice, going 2.5, going 3 times. So I'll probably have better answers on the option stuff next week as I move into it. I will be trading, hopefully. I keep saying that, I know. But it's going to be very simplified futures only trading. But I just thought, let me just screw it. I'll just do the full options thing while I'm working on it, and doing that now. Hopefully I'll finish it up in the next day or so and show something on it. It's going to be very sophisticated. That's all I can tell you. Anyways, I guess we're done. No questions, no further questions. Okay. So have a good one, guys, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. Bye-bye. See ya.